If Wall Street can move millions of dollars every day over the phone, I can't sell a $50 policy. I don't think so. And that started it.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another episode live April 24th, 10:30 a.m. in the Insurance Syndicate Group. Another episode of Ask the Experts, where I'm going to be your host, David Williams, my co-host, Andy Arter, and we have a very special guest today coming at you live from our new and improved studio. So today's guest is somebody that sold millions in final expense, built expert level systems, lead generation from direct mail to live transfers. Most importantly, is a producer at heart who leads from the front. Allow me to welcome Lauro Herrera, from pounding the pavement door to door to becoming a top final expense teleproducer. Lauro has spent over 20 years mastering the art and science of final expense whole life insurance and still at it today. His story is one of belief, transition, perseverance. In 2011, he was introduced to the final expense telesales model, and though it took nearly 3 years to fully switch over, once he did, he never looked back. Today, he only produces at a high level, but he pours into the next generation of agents through mentorship, closing training, and accesses high-quality leads for the win. He's the founder of Final Expense Telesales Pro, where the mission is simple: to flip the script on 90% of the failure rate in the industry. And I'm very excited for this episode. Welcome, my friend, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys, man. Thank you for the invitation to be on here. It's an honor, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And maybe we could start with, let's tell us a little bit about your backstory, your American dream story. What got you started in the business, and what did that journey look like?
This year marks 21 years that I got licensed to sell life insurance.
Oh, congrats.
Before that, my family was in the restaurant business, Italian restaurant business. And think about it, Mexican family with one of the best Italian places up here in NorCal. So my father passes away in 2003, and, I see a nice size life insurance check that I get in my hands. Plus my dad, I was a partner in that restaurant, so I had a little money from that situation. So right off the top, I understood that life insurance meant money in a fast order. And, I sold the restaurant. I was doing pest control, doing construction. Honestly, man, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had money. I was partying. I was sad. I was angry. And I bumped into one of my dad's good friends that was a regular. And he's like, man, what are you doing? And I was all in my uniform, pest controlled out, Yeah. And honestly, nothing against people doing pest control. But for a moment there, I kind of felt bad because the guy was a ex-Charles Schwab retiree. And he knew his employee number. And he retired at a young age, man. So he really got me thinking. I'm like, damn, a year's gone by and here I am, pretty much being a loser, spending money, being crazy. And he's like, you're better than this. You should look into getting into the insurance business. So he sets me up with Rick Altig from American Income Life. If you guys don't know who Rick Altig is, he's numero uno in that company in terms of that type of insurance. Those guys got me licensed, and within 3 months, I started my final expense career with a great company by the name of Lincoln Heritage. And I'll tell you what, that first year, the training I received from those gentlemen, the owner of that life insurance company, if you guys look up Jack London, that guy was close to a billionaire in 2005, 2006. He'd come out and work with agents just like me and show us the way. That and Mr. Ray Berrigan, that was the agency owner, would do that. And for me, that just blew my brains and everything was history from there. That first year I did, I think, 113,000. The second year I doubled it, tripled it after that. And then we got a taste of insurance renewals. And here we are, man, 21 years later. And now as an old man, I'm actually looking at retirement, and all within the insurance industry. So, that's just a little bit about me in
Oh, I
short.
love that, man. That's an incredible story. That's, a testament to the American dream right there. And, all through insurance. And I know a lot of what you did was, I think you started out maybe the traditional way, but then you started to innovate and do things differently than people had always done in that industry. Could you tell us a little bit about what that looked like when you came in and kind of, we're moving and shaking in the space in a different way than other people had in the past?
So that's a great question, man. So I started door knocking, hitting doors, and I had no problem knocking on doors. And with that, we had a direct mail marketing system. Now, 21 years ago, we were doing direct mail. We were doing paper insert in the newspaper on Sundays, and we had our prize trophy lead, which was the television marketing, right? That's how we generated leads. But I was out there knocking on doors, hitting the pavement. The guys that showed me how to sell face to face, they would tell me, don't you ever pick up that phone. You go and press the flash, and that's how you go do it. So I did that. And I became number one. I didn't change the system. I followed through. But then, once I stacked a bunch of cash in renewals, I had proven the system. I started asking myself, I'm like, why can't we do this over the telephone? I mean, I'm in California. If you guys are ever come out to California, the traffic is crazy. Whether you're in Southern California or up here in San Francisco Bay Area, good luck. And it just started getting, for me, I started getting burned out. So now, I got money. Now I'm being lazy because I don't want to go out and do the number one thing that's made me money. And I just started, pondering on that and asking the questions. And Senior Life Insurance Company was not only the only ones at the time that was doing it, but they were basically the people that pioneered telephone sales. So right off the top, that attracted me. Second thing, money. The marketing costs a lot of money. And with direct mail, I used to send out 1,000 pieces of mail here in San Francisco, Oakland, big populated areas, and we'd get over, a 1.5% return. We started doing creative things, good paper, nice port pictures. We're trying to get as nice as we can, thinking we're going to improve our returns. And every year from about 2009, I just kept seeing a decline in my direct mail responses. And look, at the time, I don't have the deep pockets that these big insurance companies have. No way. So I said to myself, this makes no sense, driving all over California, over a couple states, just to go and work those pockets of leads.
Yep.
30 years ago, perfect. Hey, let's go in a van and we'll hit 4 states, right? But now I was having a hard time with that. And then, technology, when I started with a Thomasville roadmap, and it cost $5,000 to get that nice GPS system in my car. Technology started changing everything. So I said, I got to learn this phone thing. And everyone in those years, 2010, 11, 12, if I even said the word telesales, I was chased down, man. I was tossed. They would say, oh, that's garbage. No one's ever going to do business with you over the phone. People are not going to trust you. They're not going to give you banking. Again, and most people bought into it, except for myself and a few other renegades who said, nah, if Wall Street can move millions of dollars every day over the phone, I can't sell a $50 policy. I don't think so. And that started it. And like you mentioned, man, it took me about 3 years to get past my head that I can do it. I was so nervous, right? I was a hybrid person. So I'd go and knock on doors. If I called the person to set up an appointment, they didn't pick up, I'd go and knock on doors. And eventually it became a crutch for me. And I said, hell no, we're going to take the training wheels off and we're going all in. And here we are, man. And
No, I love it. I love it.
Because now, as a field agent, when I would interview agents to come and work for the agency, I would ask them, I'll say, David, you want to make a lot of money, right? Yeah, I do. Woo, I do. Good. How do you feel about putting 60 to 120,000 miles a year in your car? And most people would drop off right there. And that's really what it took, right? But again, that was the evolution of how we ended up here today. And today, I live in my hometown in rural Northern California. You know, I might put 5,000, if that, miles a year in my vehicle, maybe. But it's all telesales, virtual sales. And look at here, we're connected here through this medium.
No, absolutely. It's a new virtual world we live in, right? And so tell us a little bit about like what, how your entire team there, because I know you guys are doing big production. Like, how many apps per month are you writing? One, and then two, what I'd like to get into, because there's a lot of listeners that are on here too that are in the P&C world, but they might be with a captive agency and they're required to have a certain minimum production credit. And, they struggle crossing over from P&C to final expense, and they are phone-based operations. And I'd be curious what advice you would have for them of how they can really get into this game to start, hitting some of the goals that they got, or just, really get another revenue stream cross-selling their book on the P&C world.
All right. So you asked me two questions there. The first one, my average app count is 600 to 1,000 apps a month. We got about 100 people on the telephone.
600 to 1,000 apps a month. I mean, I know a lot of agencies struggle with 3 apps a month, but 600 to 1,000.
I got one agent wrote 58,000 last month. We got a couple, neophyte agents that have been here 3 months, did 32,000 in AP last month. They're doing over 20,000 this month. Again, I always tell people, look, my insurance distribution is not based on me recruiting Andy and then Andy going and getting all of his family. That's not my style. I recruit by training these folk how to sell insurance and showing them what true salesmanship is. What is that? It's not just buying leads. It's servicing your policyholders, following up with them, and looking for ways to keep that relationship going. And, that's the name of the game. But a lot of agents don't have enough time to train these people how to do it right. And what do? It's all recruit. Hey, that's fine. But that's not our approach. That's why we don't have a whole lot of agents, because the amount of energy it takes to train. And another reason I only focus on final expense, I personally have never, done any advanced markets or any of that, is because it's a lot easier for me to train an agent on a simplified issue product than training him how to be an expert in all these other complicated products that if you don't know what you're doing, you can put someone in a bad situation.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a good point, because I think there's so many financial professionals that are trying to be everything to everyone. And when you get that and you spread your attention, well, you're not proficient and a fully expert in one thing, because you're, spreading that energy, knowledge, and attention across a facet of different things. And yeah, to your point, you don't end up getting to really where you want to go, but you could also be giving the wrong knowledge to somebody that's on the other end of that phone that's counting on that to impact their life in a meaningful way.
Absolutely. So now the response to your second question, for those P&C agents, because I've worked with a few of them, and the biggest issue when they reach out to me and talk to me about how they can fill in the gaps, right? Especially with auto insurance right now all over the place. With our inbound system, because of our marketing strategy, in an 8-hour window, they can have their CRM system on, and in between, whether they're working for Geico or, Progressive, right? They can take that inbound calls that's coming through, no different than if it was a P&C customer coming through. This is simple. And then with final expense, again, I go back to the simplicity of it. You know, I train agents with zero experience, and within a month, they're transacting on a regular basis. And that would be my advice in terms of those type of agents that are looking to add an extra revenue stream. Hey, man, life sales, the commissions are incredible compared to when you know, look to most PNC products. But again, that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And now, when it comes to that, like, tell us a little bit about your strategy. Is it, versus outbound calls for sales versus inbound live transfers? What have you found to be maybe your top 3 most effective marketing strategies when it comes to, this particular vertical?
Digital marketing, man. Any form of digital marketing. Americans are consuming content these days on YouTube. When me and
Yep.
you were kids, we were on Saturday mornings, right, watching TV. All of us were huddled around. Nowadays, my kids, they're on YouTube. There's no cable. So we're running ads, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, and creating those callers to call us. That is our best position. But again, we go back to training. You can pulverize through leads, but if you don't know how to sell and you don't know how to close, you're just
Yep.
burning money. So our strategy is a mixture of inbounds, also follow up, training these agents on how to work a sales pipeline. You ask any of these agents, hey man, how's your sales pipeline look like? They're like, what? You know, or they buy leads, but they have no organization. They're not accountable. So that's basically in itself what we do. You know, in terms of outbound, the only outbound I do these days truly is if I set up a time with that person because I made a presentation, try to help them, and I have to call them back, policy reviews, or something that really requires me to call these people back. Now,
Yeah.
10 years ago, people would pick up the phone at a higher rate than they do today. I would buy 50 leads a week. I'd get 75% of those people on the phones by Friday. Now I buy 50 leads a week. I would say 90% of them are not going to pick up. And I'm relentless. I'll call them. I'll text them. I'll send them a picture text, a video text, whatever it takes. And guess what? People don't pick up like they used to. They screen your call. Once they know it's you, I mean, they're smart, right? They know how to avoid the sales guys. So,
Yep.
so with us, man, it's inbound. And again, we're just killing it. If you have
So I'm
some,
guessing a mix of the inbound, you're probably talking about, you got social media, you got YouTube, like Google pay-per-click, live transfers from some of the
all of the above.
aggregators. So it's a mix of all those different things. And what are you targeting typically? What is your ideal perfect client for this particular product when you're
My
targeting? And the
perfect
reason I ask this kind of stuff because it's kind of new to a lot of maybe PNC agents that are listening that want to, dip their toe in the water.
Let me tell you what, when you're a rich person and you sit down with your attorney, your estate attorney, right, and you're planning on how you're going to leave all your money behind, there's one question your attorney's going to ask you, your estate attorney is going to ask you, and I'm sure you guys know this. Hey, so how are you going to pay for your funeral? One,
Yep.
You can write the check now to the funeral home now and take care of it now. So that way, when you die, they come and pick up your body. Or second, you can be a smart man with your money. And why don't you offload that liability to Lauro and his team, who could sell you a $25,000 whole life policy. And hey, by the way, you got diabetes, you got high blood pressure, and these terms sound pretty good. So anyone in that category or below is my client. And a lot of Americans don't think about this. They think, oh, I'm making $150,000. All right, great. How much money you got in the bank? I got 20,000. Okay, if you die right now, that's 15,000. Now how much you got?
Yeah.
Most people, when they pass away, they die in the hospital. And we all know there's a lot of out-of-pocket expenses. So for me, anyone that's low income, but in general, anyone, because I have found those conversations and all of those type of backgrounds, and I've been able to place insurance, even homeless. I got over
Oh,
150.
that's amazing. And you see, you see the we're in the GoFundMe era, right? Where there's so many different people. They're trying to scrape together, in the midst of already the madness of losing a loved one. That's already hard enough. And then trying to get everybody together to scrape together to try to make that happen, to honor their legacy. So, I think, it's very, very important.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about your company culture and how important it is. What does the makeup look like, remote versus in-house? And what is your overall, how does your company culture play a role in your success?
Let me tell you something. We do a really good job to hire the right people. And I'd rather overload you with information about what I do or expect from you up front, because this is not a culture where we're meeting up every day, have a powwow.
Yep.
This is the culture of, hey, you're a responsible man. I'm a responsible man. You're going to do what you say you're going to do. Let's show up to work every day. And I know you two I can count on. That's the kind of person I'm looking for. Someone that I don't have to, hold their hand every single day. No, if they're not self-motivated, I just can't do that. Why? I call it freedom within a framework. There's one thing I hate: micromanagement. If you micromanage me, that's going to piss me off. Then I'm not free. Now you're a glorified employee on a 1099. So my agency don't operate like, hey, we're going to have 5 meetings this week and we're going to go out and have lunch. Again, I'm not trying to be an antisocial person, but that's not the type of person I'm looking for. That's why we don't have a whole lot of agents. And it's good, because this business isn't for everybody. So that's the culture here. I don't want to be on a meeting with you every single day. You'd rather be with your family doing fishing, doing something else, than be caught up in meetings because you're trying to get the mindset right, correct? I've trained thousands of people over the years, and I've learned one thing that's unfortunate. You can't want it more than they want it. You can't. And sometimes you want that success for some people, and they just don't want it. And it's almost like disrespectful to me, right? We felt a little disrespected because they don't want it, and we see what they can do, but they don't want it. So what do? It's a waste of breath. So, from my standpoint, and again, this wasn't how I started, but this is, again, over the evolution of 21 years, that today, this is what I tell people. For some people, when they hear this out, they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to work here. Yeah, because a lot of people need all that mindset training, that extra stimulation. But if you know exactly what you need, what you want, and you're not afraid to go get it, I offer the lead system, the training system, and we have the carrier relationship. So in a nutshell,
so it's really, when it comes to building your team, it's quality over quantity. And how many reps, when you talked about that big number, because I think a lot of people are in awe of that, 600 to 1,000 apps a month. Across how many reps is that typically, accomplished with it?
And out of those 100 reps are all producing reps. When you look at a company, right, and you look at the people that make the trip, it's always like a very small number. And then second of all, then when you look at that number, it's a lot of veteran numbers in there too. A lot of veterans that are making those trips. But the percentages of people actually making it are very little. Every one of those reps are writing, an app, 2 apps, 3 apps a month. But obviously you got your monsters in there, and you got your neophytes just starting. But again, that it comes down to training people that, especially in my business, you're not going to make your money by going and recruiting Mr. David Williams. You're going to make your money selling insurance every day, servicing your clients. It sounds boring, and it's not as glamorous and flashy as you want it to be, maybe other positions. But if you stick this out for a couple of years, you'll make a whole lot of money. Simple. And anyone that's in the insurance business can agree to that.
I got a question for you, Lauro. Several years ago, I had the privilege of being able to kind of pour through your training system, and we worked on some of that training system together. And when you walked me through your scripting and your approach, it was very, very, I could tell there was years and years of experience that helped you formulate what you give to your team.
Right.
But one of the things we talked about early on was implementing that training, getting it to stick. And I'm curious, what maybe the first 30 to 60 days looks like for a new team member that's like in their first, first go with you? And how are you implementing training today that helps bring everybody up to speed? Because I know a lot of them just work from home or they work from remote offices. So how do you get so much consistency, even though you might not be in one office together?
Like what we're doing here, a virtual call center. We're connected on a Zoom call. So everyone plugs in just like this. Some have their camera on, others don't, but they're able to engage. Plus, with technology, everybody's able to listen to other teammates, their presentations, and that also builds on itself. But
now, is that a daily? Like, what's the frequency look like when it comes to
I
training?
meet with them daily. So every day I have 3 meetings throughout the day. Got a morning, midday, and afternoon. And my team, if they need any help, they know they can reach me out in that. So I make myself available to them, especially if someone's having a month where their closing ratio is under 20%. In our world, if you're under 20%, something's definitely wrong because of the quality of our lead, right? But back to what you're talking about. In 2017, we rolled out the Cardone University, in collaboration with, at the time you were at Cardone Training Systems. And what did we do? We put together my training program, which you obviously guided us through, combined with Grant Cardone's day-to-day sales mentorship and training. And today we take a lot of what we learned there and we do it every day with the people that work within our group. And obviously in 2017, when we presented it to the insurance companies, they shot us down. If you remember, they weren't ready for it. Think about it. Mm-hmm. And for all of you guys watching, Andy and Jared Glanton flew to Dallas, Texas, met with a bunch of insurance companies to talk to them about what we were working on at that time, which was the final expense telesales university. And they shot it down. The world wasn't ready for telesales. And fast forward to 2020, it's like ironic, but that's what we're doing, man. We're doing everyday trainings and, meeting with our core reps that need the help. But again, I call it freedom within a framework. I don't want to be micromanaging nobody, but hey, here's the framework. Now you can do whatever you want within that framework, and that's your freedom. And it works. It works out for me.
Love it. Now, when it comes to, I guess going out there and hiring the right people, tell us a little bit about your hiring process and how instrumental that is, and just, I guess, is one of the cogs in this well-oiled machine that you have.
So, one, I don't recruit from other agencies ever. You'll never hear someone say that Lauro Herrera gentleman is out here targeting David Williams' agency. What? I never do that ever, because I believe there's too much talent out there. And what I do is I partnered with Excel Solutions that you guys know. And, I create content marketing, man, YouTube. And through that, I'm able to attract a lot of people to our company. I'm not going to hire everybody, but think about it like this. Last year, Herrera Insurance Marketing, we helped over 2,500 people sign up for their insurance courses. And this year, we're going to, cross that number for sure, because every single day we have 5 to 20 people plus signing up for their courses. So I have no need to, send letters to my competitors' agents. I mean, I don't do any of that. I'd rather work with someone, give them an opportunity from the beginning, get them trained and licensed. And guess what? That has worked out perfect for me, because on the other end, what happens in my thinking, if I go and recruit somebody, think of all that goes behind that, right? And sometimes those recruiters aren't 100% honest. They start talking bad about people. And when I start hearing, those kind of tones, it's a red flag for me, and I'm out of here, right? Because they're talking bad about people, and I don't think that's good. So I've avoided all that. And I avoided all that drama. Think of all those agents that get on online fights and they bash each other and they talk crap. I mean, dude, there's millions of people, but again, they're not thinking that way. For me, I'm putting the opportunity out there. The good Lord's blessing me with people that call me up, and I never call them. So that's how we do it. And then from there, we're gonna find the people that want to work exactly the way we have it laid out. And it's not everybody, but we'd rather have it that way than mislead somebody. And now they're pissed off at me 6 months later, right? Because we wasted their time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And the one thing I heard in everything you said there too, towards the end, that caught my attention is the good Lord bless me. I'd be curious, because I know you're a man of faith just like me. How has faith played a role, in your business, the success of your business, and in your life in general?
Yeah, so that's kind of a complicated question. So a lot of people don't know, but when I first started working in the insurance, right, Rick Altig's company, right, American Income, when they got me licensed, my friend that recommended me and set me up for that interview, I went in there in my best Italian suit, right, nice. And I sat down with two guys, right, two arrogant, pompous guys. And they're looking at my resume, right? And all it says is high school. And then it says restaurant co-owner. And they're like, man, we don't know, we're looking for someone with some college, education, And then one of the gentlemen says, hey, do you got any sales experience? And at the time, like I said, I was angry, I was bitter, and I really didn't care. And I said, well, man, I've been selling a faith since I was 7 years old, knocking on doors like a Jehovah's Witness. And their eyes went boom. And they're like, you're hired. So yeah, man, I grew up in a very religious household. But to be honest with you, somewhere along the lines in my 30s, I'm not saying I lost touch with God, but something happened where I distanced myself from him. And I tell people, I became more of an agnostic on the road to being an atheist. That's really how I felt. Because again, money is power. And if you have money, you feel like God at times, right? And it trick your thinking. And I was headed in that direction. And I'll tell you what, and for many years, I would say I was more of an agnostic, right? I was in the middle of the water, like, almost thinking, man, I need to see the Red Sea be parted. You start having those kind of thinking. So I'm going to share a story with you guys. I haven't shared this with no one, but last March, I had a moment per se. And, for 20 years, I've been helping people with their funeral arrangements, making sure they have money for that. But in March of last year, I ended up in the ER like 4 or 5 times, which is definitely not, what I have ever done in my life, probably. And I've kept on my physicals, I have, I know what's going on with my health. So I was having these heart palpitations, ended up in the ER, couldn't find anything, couldn't find nothing. Finally, I end up in an ER, and the doctor's like, we're going to do a CT scan on you right here. And I'm like, fair enough, let's go. Because my blood pressure was at 220 over 135. Imagine that.
Wow.
And these occasions. So I'm thinking, damn, I'm going to die. I'm going to get my wings today, or I'm going to have a full-blown stroke. So the doctor comes back and she says, everything's okay, except we found a 1/2-inch tumor in your left adrenal gland. And for all of you guys who don't know where the adrenal glands, they sit on top of our kidneys. And I said, I had to clear the wax out of my ears. I'm like, what?
Wow.
A 1/2-inch tumor? That was last March. And last March, I'm like, okay. And then everybody, you don't want to tell anybody, right? So obviously I had to tell certain people. And everybody's like, oh, we're going to pray for you. You got this. And I'm thinking, oh, hell no. This is not good. This is not good. So I started planning for my death. And I started going through the motions of, now I got to go see an endocrinologist. What the hell's an endocrinologist? Now I got to face the music. So from March to to October is my birthday. So the endocrinologist tells me, he's like, look, this is it could be a very serious thing or it could be nothing, but we're going to run some tests and, we're going to see. So they ran the test. The test came back within normal ranges. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't you guys cut this thing out? They're like, it's very dangerous to cut it out of the adrenal gland because you can have a full-blown heart attack if you get adrenaline shooting through your body. I'm like, oh, hell no. This is it. This is it, Lauro Herrera. You're gone. So I'm thinking, okay, so what do we do? He says, we're going to monitor the tumor, and if it grows, then we'll cut it out. So we'll wait for your birthday in October. And I'm thinking, okay. And I'll tell you, all of a sudden now, my world's changing like this. And I start preparing for my funeral, and I start really laying it all out. I have young kids. My daughter's going to be 18 this year. My youngest is 8. So now I'm thinking, okay, this is it. So I started doing everything I could. But in this process, you talk about faith. It's hard not to go to bed at night thinking, damn, am I going to wake up tomorrow? Is next week the week that the doctor's going to tell me I got full-blown cancer everywhere? It's in your mind. You're going crazy, right? But then you start thinking,
shit.
And then you start thinking to yourself, wait a minute. There's got to be something else on the other side of this, because this ain't it. If I want to die at 47 years old, then this is it. And I've worked all these years, done all this. And then I said to myself, hey, man, life's brutal. Life ain't easy. And that's what, everybody gets dealt with. So I start processing, and I'm processing this, and I'm really meditating on this. So anyways, so the plan was October, we're going to do another CT scan. We're going to see if the tumor's grown. Okay. So now comes September of last year, and I have real bad back pain, and I can feel my blood pressure going through the roof. So I go to the ER, and I'm thinking, oh, man, it's that damn tumor, that tumor. And the ER doctor comes in and says, yeah, man, I'm really concerned about that tumor. And my concern is that it's grown and it's stuck to the aorta, and you're going to have to make some big decisions here in the next couple hours because they might have to cut it out. And, again, now I'm just. So for 3 hours, I'm in that ER room. And at one point, I'm a warrior, all whatever. At another point, I'm at the other spectrum, right? Oh, my God, why me, Yeah. So 3 hours later, the doctor comes back in. He says, man, I don't know what to tell you, but 2 radiologists saw this, and one's in New York and one's in Los Angeles. And there was a half-inch tumor there 6 months. We don't see it on the CT scan anymore.
Wow.
And I'm like,
whoa.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? And that moment in that ER room, there was zero question that there is a higher power, because let me tell you, I talked to the best specialists in the nation, in the US, in Mexico, and they all confirmed that there was a half-inch tumor there. And then they all reviewed the same stuff. And the doctor said to me, look, man, I don't know what to tell you, but scientifically, there is a word for it. I can't remember it, but all I can tell you is that there's nothing there anymore.
Wow.
So that moment in that ER room, for me, there's zero question that there's a higher power, one bit. And that thinking of, me being an agnostic, that pulled me back over here, that there is a higher power, man. So yeah, faith is most definitely, when we lose the faith, like I think I've lost in the past, it other parts of our life is affected.
No, that's an incredible testimony. I appreciate you sharing that. Now I'd be curious, the last part on that is, after going through that, how has that shifted now? How, I guess, you operate just as a human being, and, how your business operates now, if any.
It's really never changed much. It just made me more grateful, really, tremendously, and value your relationships even more. but more than anything, I think time, man. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do right now, because that saying goes, right? Tomorrow never comes. That's the
Yep.
truth. So just being grateful. For me, that's been it. But I've always been that with my team. This has just enhanced that.
Incredible.
And I guess, along these lines, a lot of people, we do what we do for different reasons, right? We do what we do for our families. We do what we do for our communities. We do what we do for legacy. What makes you tick? Why do you do what you do?
I love the idea of taking an agent that has never made any significant income and helping them and seeing that reaction. I find a lot of satisfaction in seeing someone's success, especially the people that are the underdogs. I find a lot of satisfaction. The money's nice, but that's not what drives me every day. It's like today. Here, as soon as we're done here, I'm on the phone working with my team, someone that's new. And it takes time for me to train them, coach them, going through the process of all that. If you're not patient or you like that, you're going to see that as a waste of breath. And for me, I don't see it like that. So yeah, for 21 years, that's really, for me, the number one motivator.
And switching pace a little bit here. I know you work and you coach with a lot of folks, right? And out of all the folks that you coach, I say this all the time. I think success leaves clues, and then setbacks leave clues. I'd like to start on the setback side. When you see somebody in a setback, whether it's an existing, final expense agency, agent, or somebody getting new into the business, a lot of times we can't get out of our own way. What is the common denominator in which you see people, typically not getting out of their own way when it comes to, maybe sitting in a setback, not getting the results that they want in this business?
It's either they're going away from what they were trained on. It's typically the first one. They're changing the recipe. And that's the number one. They get confident and they start modifying, they start cutting corners, and then their numbers start showing. That's the first thing I look for, that. But then also, if their mind's not in it, that's typically the next one. And if the mind's not in it, they're not going to be motivated enough to show up every day and grind by themselves, because virtual sales, you're losing the element when you're in a boiler room with a bunch of others and you're seeing Johnny do 5,000. And what do you want to do? You want to beat Johnny. When you're virtual selling, the mindset, people they overanalyze things. They compare themselves to others, and instead of focusing on putting in more work, they get discouraged because they think somewhere there's a secret path that's going to evade all the hard work. So I look for those two things, man.
Awesome. And now, when it comes to, coaching people, and you see somebody, they're getting next level results, opposite side of the spectrum, like, they're getting just like you, 1% of the 1%. What do you see the commonalities there? The ones that are just getting that next level result, and they really get keeping the main thing.
Obviously, they are, the superstars come in different packages, man. I always share that, one of our top players, that would do $50,000 a month, was a 63-year-old man whipping everyone's butt. So
That's awesome.
A single mother, with 4 kids, whipping everyone's butt. The common denominator is that desire, man. What's his name? Mr. Stone would say you have to have that burning desire. That's it. If they really desire it, man, they'll do it. Anyone can accomplish anything. But I would say that's it right there.
I'd be curious in the hiring process, how do you, I guess, discover or uncover that burning desire versus what sometimes is a fake facade? Because I think everybody in an interview will give that facade. Yeah, I want it. I got the passion for it. This is what I want, versus like, you just got it in your soul, burning through your freaking veins. I think there's a difference there. How do you find that in the hard
What I
process?
do is I tell them all the bad stuff about the opportunity, the chargebacks, all the negatives. And through that process, I really peak some points there in their personality or how they react. And in most cases, especially with chargebacks, some people won't come back because they're not serious about it. So I present all of the facts of what we do. In fact, I share you my sales process. I'll send it to you and I'll tell you, go ahead and review that, David. And if you can see yourself doing that every single day in an 8-hour window, let's take it to the next step. And what? They get to see all this information, analyze it, and really assess if they can duplicate it. And if they can, they call me back. If they don't, I never hear from them again, or maybe they'll call me later on.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
I give them as much as I can, because what I don't want is I don't want to sell them on a dream. They sign the contracts, and then first week into training, they're like, what is this? And it's totally something different. It's a waste of time.
Absolutely. Now, I know we really started out this, call how you really, were the innovator in the final expense, really, getting ahead of your time in terms of doing things that people have never done. But a big component of that too is embracing new technology, especially in the world of AI, the technological world that we live in. I'd be curious, when you look at your overall operation, what does your tech stack look like, and how you run your business? And then the second question was does AI play any sort of role inside of your operation?
Yes. So we already use an AI in our call center systems. And that is for every time someone calls into one of our ads and one of our agents doesn't take the call, it goes to our call center reps, and our call center reps will do a series of screening. The AI system that we have now can monitor, 1,000 people on the phones all in real time. And if any one of those people is coaching a call or doing something outside of that scripting system, they get flagged. Boom. But what I'm working on now is this is my ultimate game, is I'm building the artificial intelligence Lauro Herrera super agent. And, we got our attorneys looking into this now. We're asking the questions with the Department of Insurance. Can we use AI to sell insurance directly off our marketing? And so far, everything that has been, brought to the table, because we're new, it has been that we just got to disclose it. So if we disclose it on our advertisements, or we disclose it verbally, and that person accepts to go through the next process of underwriting, presenting, and closing with an AI system, that's where I'm at right now. And for the last 6 months, I have been fueling this AI system because, again, the more you make the machine learn, it builds on itself. And it's been amazing to see. 2 years ago, it would cost $50,000 to talk to anybody that was involved with it. Nowadays, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. And my vision is with AI, and my thinking is, with the carriers having all this money, think about this. If they have an ultimate agent that's an AI approved by the company, why would they need the agent? Question mark. I'm just throwing it out there. Think of like the companies that sell insurance online. There's a few platforms on there. You can go on there, buy the general sells car insurance online. You can go on there and buy Geico. Think of all the ones that are customer initiated stuff. Life insurance, no different. Gerber lets you do it online, and within 24 hours, you have a policy. So we're working on it. We're within the asking the legal questions. But I do know one thing. In a year from now, ask me where I'm at a year from now. I think we'll be a lot closer to that. Because with final expense, let me tell you something. It's a very simplified process. It's not all these other pieces that need to be decided. So we'll see. But I think
that's the golden question, right? It's like whether we're replaced by AI or we just those that get really good at leveraging AI replace those that don't? I think is going to be kind of a golden question. Will be the test of time here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. If I close 30 to 40% of the calls that I get a day, and I have an AI system that closes, let's say 20%, because one thing about AI that I've been learning, okay, I'm not an expert, is that there's a hallucination problem where the AI system doesn't pick up certain parts of maybe a conversation. But what we're discovering is by educating the system, by loading it with real life scenarios, which are presentations, it's amazing to see, how it's evolving, man. So it's exciting stuff, guys, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And then staying on that topic of the tech stack, if you could list out, hey, you know what, you can only use 5 different things. What was your top 5 tools that you use in your quiver, whether it's a CRM system, technology solutions, top 5 specific tools that you really couldn't live it out in your operation from a technology standpoint?
The CRM is very important. That's as much as we get, and we use trackdrive.com. Their overall great CRM system. You're not, broken down with tech support all day long. You can actually be productive, because one of the things about a CRM system these days, there's a lot of fancy ones, but all those little bells and whistles don't technically work just the way we thought they'd work. And what's the function that you need? Making calls, receiving calls. So that's as much as technology. We're using TrackDrive, and the AI component for now, but we know it's going to get better, over the next few months for sure.
No, absolutely. And then, as we're kind of getting to the end of the call, first and foremost, I think you dropped a ton of knowledge. So anybody that's, listening right now live, or you're listening to the rerun, make sure to, send him a lot of love, drop some in the chat below as we're streaming this live. I'd be curious, going a little bit, give you an opportunity, because I know you're coaching a lot of people that are out there, helping people that are out there. Tell us a little bit how others can work with you and what that looks like.
Again, if they want the training, we train people, and obviously we like to align our agency. If we have a senior life contract, so we align with that carrier. That's my only motivator. But the agent can represent any other company they want. We don't charge for the training, but we do require the agent to at least have a commitment of their first month of 100 inbounds, or else it makes no sense for me to show someone how to do this off 5 inbound leads. That's not enough. You need to have at least 30 days of showing up every day, cycle out and make some money and do it again. So that's what we do. But here in the near future, we're going to be creating some opportunity there. But the goal right now is just to bring on more agents in our agency. That's really our motivation. But if someone loves the training, I have no problem training them. But full disclosure, my motivation is building that insurance block of business, because we make money not selling coaching sessions, selling insurance. So
absolutely.
Yeah, but I'll put your website in the chat as well, so people can come find you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess as we wind down here, if you had, let's say, things happen to go, when we're on that conversation of faith, they happen to go in the other direction, and you thought about the legacy that you wanted to leave behind in this world, like everything you stand for, everything that built up to this moment. What does that look like to you, and what is that legacy that you want to leave behind that's long lasting far after you're gone?
The number one is everybody that knows me personally, they can all say that, I'll show up for you.
Yep.
That's as simple as it comes.
I love it. And then any final bits of wisdom, if you could, take a look at anything we talked about today when it comes to anything we didn't talk about, that's of extreme importance that you just love to, deliver in the final moments today in terms of wisdom to the audience that's listening, that advice could leave them better off?
Right.
What would it be?
The title of your podcast is Ask the Experts, right?
Yep.
And my advice to all of you guys out there, regardless of what you're doing, auto, real estate, whatever it is, whatever your niche is, whoever you're working with, listen to that person, because you took the time to interview, you took the time to apply for that job, you took the time to do all this work to get that position. And the first thing you don't want to do is start nitpicking that person. And I advise you not to do that. Have faith, give it 90 days, follow everything that they're showing you, because it doesn't matter what company you go to work for. Every company has their superstars. Doesn't matter. So if you follow what they're showing you and you give it time, you're going to be way better off than just going into something and a week later you want to change paths because you didn't like the way they presented this or they presented that. Then that tells me you're not fully committed to win, because it's only going to be what you want to do and it's not the whole picture. And that would be my advice to anybody out there. The best advice is that.
And I guess last but not least, how can people follow you? How do they follow you?
You can go to my YouTube channel, Lauro Herrera, or you go to my website, finalexpensetelessalespro.com. And I'm pretty sure if you type in my name on YouTube, you can find a lot of my content. Got over 1,600 videos, talking about, compliance, insurance, lead gen. And, that's another tool too, YouTube. A lot of businesses aren't using YouTube like they can, and that's free. Just requires you to pump out content that makes sense to the niche you're going after. So you guys can definitely find me there.
Well, boom. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank
Just
you,
like
man.
tremendous wisdom, just tons of golden nuggets. Make sure everybody, again, show some love while you're watching live, whether you're watching in the rerun. Again, this was Lauro Herrera, and just such an incredible episode. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And until next week, same channel, same time, in the Insurance Syndicate Live, you'll see us on another episode of Ask the Experts. Until then, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. God bless you.